Hello and welcome to part 6. We have left Berlin and we're going to hit some photos here first just to make sure we get all that ground covered. This is Rothenberg ob der Tauber, over the river, over the Tauber River. Um, this was an experience for sure, one that I didn't know existed, and it was awesome. So let's run through some photos real quick. Again, I really feel like the photos don't do it justice, but here they are anyway. So this was kind of a secondary clock tower leading out of this little walled-in city. I got some videos of the other clock tower, the main one near the Rathaus, and it actually had some windows that opened and some kind of animatronic um, things going on with it. But the videos didn't really come out that well. And again, I just don't think it conveys the experience that well. So um, this was actually a picture that Cassandra wanted me to take for her, most of these, because again, I was really trying to live in the moment. She did want me to take a picture of this. I think she wanted to translate it. I don't know if she did or not. I have not heard back on that. This was over kind of the one of the lower points in the wall of the city, and just a really cool German countryside kind of um, vibe here. Best way to put it. So um, the Ferris wheel seemed out of place, and yet it seemed appropriate. I would imagine the view from up there was cool, but we did not partake of it. Cassandra asked me to take a picture of that banner hanging from that building there. More over the ridge. Here was our attempt at a bad selfie, which generally we were spot on with the bad selfies. And again, just more of the German countryside. I'll go ahead and stop there. This is the start of maybe what I'll get into next video. But let's go through my notes. So we were in Berlin actually on a Friday morning. We had to pack everything, and again, I had a few extra things, a couple extra beers and stuff that, in hindsight, I would rather not have carried. I wish I would have just knocked those off and not worried about it. But we definitely, at this point, had a lot of stinky, sweaty clothes that could not be worn anymore. We were um, going through our clothing day by day for the most part. But I did make a note here that it did seem as though I had still packed pretty well. Had some clean underwear, had some clean clothes still, but man, there was definitely some that was too far gone and had to be clean. I did make a note here if we got caught in the rain, that could change some things. And for the most part, we really didn't until we got back to Denmark at the end of the trip. But packing wise, I did pretty well. We spent a lot of time on this morning catching a lot of trains. I think we caught 4 or 5. I can't remember exactly. Getting from Berlin to Rothenberg. Before we even caught a train, I mentioned that Cassandra was on the lookout for Mondstreifen, and I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. She went through all of the bakeries at this main Berlin train station. There were 6 of them, and finally the 6th one kind of had a reasonable facsimile, I guess, of what she was looking for. I did not buy anything. I had kind of made the decision that the bakeries were not going to be my priority. In hindsight, I probably should have gotten something just to, um, get some calories because we had a long day ahead of us. But um, the German bakeries just didn't do much for me. That's for sure. Um, when we finally got on our train, it was a gigantic jostled mess. And one of the things, I guess, travel wise, if there's a tip I could give you, when you're at the main Berlin train station, there are, of course, all of the stops and all of the trains that are the local subway L, if you will. But then there's also train stations and platforms and stops, if you will, at that main train station that are going out of town. They're not local. They're leaving. So you do need to make sure you get on the right one. There were a couple of times where the subway, call it the five, was what we were trying to find, and we kept ending up on the platform for the five that was actually going out of town. It was not the subway five, if that makes sense. So you got to be real careful about that. So anyway, once we found our platform, knew where we were going to go, we went and looked at all these bakeries, and I could have done without that extra walking, that's for sure. But um, we get on this train, and it was a gigantic jostled mess. And the other tip I could give you is generally on your ticket, it's going to give you the car number that um, you should board on. We did not do that. We just kind of jumped on, and then we had to kind of walk down the middle to get to our car. And you don't want to have to do that necessarily because there's just too many people in the way. Um, so check your ticket for your carriage number, I think is what they actually call it. And then we actually got so good at it, we could sort of align with where we thought that car would stop on the platform. And then we were much closer to where we needed to be as far as grabbing our seat. There are people who don't want to pay for an assigned seat. And so they will just take empty seats as the train starts moving, which does mean that as you get to your seat, there's a decent chance someone's going to be in it. But all you have to do is say, hey, that's our seat. They get up, they move. It's not a big deal. We did pay extra for the assigned seat, and I think I recommend some of these train rides that are 2 hours long. You don't necessarily not want to have one. And if it is that crowded and there are no seats and you're not going to get one, I recommend paying for it. So Cassandra did a good job on that. But people were having to kind of climb over each other to get to and from down that middle aisle. And it's basically like an airplane. It's very narrow. And it really seemed inefficient. I guess the bottom line is if everybody would look at their carriage number and get to where they're supposed to be before the train stops, it might save some of that. But there was this one older lady who was in the aisle. I was in my seat and feeling good about it too, not having to deal with all that. And she's right here, beside me in the aisle trying to get where she's trying to go. And there's kind of this wave of people pushing, and she literally kind of almost fell over on top of me. Because of it. So it was that, massive humanity kind of situation, that's for sure. There was an old man across from us on the same car, and he was reading Lady Chatterley, which I have always known to be porn, but maybe it's literature. I don't know, but he was engrossed in the Lady Chatterley novel or whatever it was, romance, whatever it was. Maybe he knows something I don't know, but I found that to be kind of an interesting detail there. So lots of different trains. We kept having to get off, make a connection. Sometimes you're lucky and it's the same platform, so you just get off on one side, you get on the other side. Sometimes you're not so lucky, you got to go down, you got to find the right platform, you got to go back up. That comes into play a little more later when I started having some breathing problems. But for the most part, man, we were just cruising. Cassandra's got all this down. She knows what she's doing. A lot of the trains have Wi-Fi, so you can kind of plan things on your phone and that sort of thing before they come up. So we did get toward the end of our train journey that day to a point where a lady conductor spoke up from the end of a car saying she needed assistance in getting a man removed from the train. So this was our first experience really with they will come by occasionally and check your ticket. And I guess I get the feeling that when they checked this guy's ticket, he didn't have one. And so you're going to end up off the train regardless of your destination, which is, maybe a little scary, especially if you're broke or something. But I did not understand what was being said, but this guy across from us, different guy than the Lady Chatterley guy, he knew immediately. He got up and went to help, and I did notice he had left all of his bags and everything kind of sitting there unattended. So I actually got up and went and stood by his stuff so that it wouldn't get disturbed while he was helping the lady get the man off the train. There was really no incident beyond that. The guy got off the train and was just kind of sitting at the station there, or at the platform there as we left. On another train, we actually ended up sitting across from. So sometimes the seats are set more like an airplane where they're just all facing the same direction. And then sometimes you'll get a little table in the middle and you'll have a kind of a cubicle where the two seats in front of you are actually facing you. We did end up facing a couple of teenage girls, maybe their young 20s, and they literally never stopped talking. Luckily, that leg we were only on the train for like 20 minutes, I think, but they talked the entire time. Of course, in a language I did not understand, and I did get the impression they might have dropped acid or something. They were very wound up. Is probably the best way I can put it. I did ask Kay what they were saying because I knew she understood them. And she said basically it was all party stories. It was all who was sleeping with whom, and some girl that they had told off because of who she was dating and all that. Anyway, it was just a big long drama, teenage girl thing. And Cassandra was very annoyed by it. I said, I'm not sure which is worse, knowing what they were saying and having to listen, or not knowing what they were saying and having to listen. Cassandra said knowing what they were saying was probably far worse. So, like I said, 4 or 5 trains. I was going to sit down with Cassandra at some point and maybe count how many trains we went through. This was one of the heavy train days. I do recommend traveling by train rather than renting a car. If we're on to our travel tips, you probably need to know to get the international driver's license thing set up before you leave the States, so that if you are going to get a car, you've already got that worked out. You need to print it out because a lot of them won't take the digital copy. We got through this whole trip without ever getting a car. We thought about it, found out we didn't have the international license, so it didn't matter anyway, and then it all worked out. So I recommend the buses and the trains. They're fine. They'll get you where you need to go. I think that covers all the train ride in Berlin. Then we ended up in Rothenberg ob der Tauber, which is basically this town that's over the river, and it's medieval. It is well preserved, and it's not flat. It's got some hills you got to navigate, but it is just really really cool. I don't really know a better way to put it. If I could be more poetic, I would, but it has this Renaissance fair feel to it, but it's not like cheap American trashy. It's very authentic, and it's very cool. So it is literally just kind of frozen in time, and it's really nice. We checked into our hotel, which I'll talk a little bit more later, but then we decided it was time to go eat. And again, I had not gotten anything at the bakery. So this was a late lunch for me, and I was ready. I was ready for some lunch. So we tried for the first time for some authentic German. It turned out to be a little bit of I think, a tourist trap, amusement park quality kind of thing. And again, Cassandra doesn't miss on this stuff much, but hers she did not like. It did not seem thoroughly cooked. It was sort of a deep fried potato thing, and she was not that impressed. I went simple. I kept it at a couple of bratwurst, a couple of sausages, basically some sauerkraut, and um, a beer. And mine was very good. I enjoyed it a lot. I did do the Weiss beer. I hadn't quite bought in completely on the Radlers yet. But after that Weiss beer, from that point on, I went full Radler. So I can give you a pretty um, good review of all the Radlers I had. But mine was very tasty, and I actually finished off some of Cassandra's too, since I was pretty hungry, and that worked out pretty well. Then we left that place, went over to the Criminal Museum. This one again had a little bit of a amusement park, state fair kind of feel to it, um, but it was also very well done. So again, I feel like they have a certain kind of standard, I guess they're shooting for. That's a bit over and above what you would find in a moving carnival in the state fair in Oklahoma or something like that. But it was a criminal museum that did have some sort of tongue-in-cheek fictional type stuff, Lord of the Rings type stuff, but it also had some exhibits that took law and crime and punishment very seriously, and it was actually pretty good, pretty well done. Um, there was, of course, some fetish type stuff with some torture devices and that sort of thing, which I think was veiled. They didn't present it such that's what it was, but it was kind of that. So um, we did stop at the cafe and have some coffee. That was pretty average. They appeared to have just opened that up. I don't know that they had kind of their process down on that yet. I had a feeling the coffee was kind of old. So for what it's worth, we had caught a couple of negative experiences in this town of Rothenberg, and yet it was still kind of awesome. So it was hard to ruin it for me. They did have a Christmas museum and a Christmas museum shop. Now, we didn't get to go through the museum because they closed before we got there. We did go through the shop, and if I was ever at a point where I was ready to buy some things for souvenirs for people, this was it. The problem again was I didn't know how to do so and navigate carrying it the rest of the way through the trip. So luckily we had gotten to this point where um, I had enough experience to know you can't go loading yourself down with a bunch of stuff. I did happen to do a little research and discovered that the company that did the gift shop for that museum was an American company, and that they had a website and you can order things, literally come home, order things from that company online and have it shipped to you much cheaper and not have to worry about breaking it. So I decided, I think at that point, that come Christmas, we're going to, well, I say I'm going to pick out the one ornament I like and I'm going to order one for everybody I want to. And then I'm going to ship those to them, hopefully just straight from the website. And then every Christmas, everyone can put those ornaments on their tree, and Christmas by Christmas we'll buy another one and add to the collection. So that's kind of my idea. I guess if you didn't get a souvenir from this trip, just know that I have an idea for a souvenir, and it's going to be kind of perpetual every year. So that's the plan. Um, the volume of stuff that they had was pretty impressive. And it was a place of joy. It had very positive vibes. This Christmas museum shop, and it did seem a little mass produced. That's why I was having this conflict when I was in there. I was like, this has an authentic sort of feel to it, but I don't think it is. And then come to find out, actually, it's an American company that's putting all this stuff in the German Christmas museum shop. So still very much a good thing. I have no complaints. So we couldn't figure out how to carry everything, and we figured out this shipping thing from the American website, and so that's pretty much what we decided to do. And I'm after the trip's over now, I can tell you I think we made the right call. If we'd have tried to carry some things, it would not have worked out very well. So then for dinner that night, we found an Italian place, and as much as the Donner place in Berlin disappointed me, this Italian place was amazing. The Italians have got it down as far as just their homemade pasta and their dining experience. This place does not accept walk-ins, but they accepted us. They also accepted a Ohio family behind us. So, maybe they do accept more than we thought. But there were a lot of Americans in this shop. There was a younger couple who had moved to Rothenberg from New York, the family from Ohio that I mentioned, and there was the couple who lived there. Their parents were there from, I guess, New York. So um, they talked a lot about the move, and they seemed very happy with it. And I do have to say, if given the opportunity to live in Rothenberg, I would. It is not the place in Germany I would pick, though, above some others that we visited, and we'll be visiting and talking about those in the future. But Rothenberg is awesome, and I can see why somebody would want to live there. I had this pasta forno dish. It was basically like a baked ziti, and it was one of the best things I have ever eaten. It was a top three dish on the trip, and it's probably a top five in my lifetime. It was really really good. So I should probably remember the name of the place that we ate, and if I get a chance to update you in a future video on that, I will. When we left that restaurant, we decided to meet up with a bunch of tourists outside the Rathaus for Rothenburg, the city hall, for the Night Watchman tour. And it was actually really kind of cool because the clock in the square that has the animatronic stuff going on with it, it was striking 8, and everybody starts looking up at the windows next to this clock for these figures that are doing their thing. And as soon as the clock stopped, the night watchman, who had taken advantage of the situation and moved into the square, started his spiel, started his act, and it was quite a dramatic entrance. It was really well done. And he was great. He talked about how rich the town was, and how the walls worked to defend the town. More on the walls in our next video. He did mention one particular spot called Hell, that the old school night watchman would always send the apprentice down to check, because apparently it was the one spot where the wall was lowest and you could get sniped by an arrow or something if you weren't careful. But we did walk down there later. The view was beautiful. That's where a lot of those photos were taken, was the Hell at Rothenburg. The hotel we stayed at, on a final note here, was the Gotisches, I'm going to say that wrong, house, Gotisches house. It was established in 1278. That's how medieval we were talking here, and it was one of the neatest places I have ever stayed. It had all these medieval floors and kind of windows and that sort of thing, but then they had totally upgraded the bathroom to where it was completely modern, and the doors to your room actually still used keys. They didn't go with the card reader hotel thing, as some places do. So that was kind of neat to actually just carry around a key instead of a card. So a couple of things here, real quick. They had given us a postcard, and there's the postcard if you need to pause or take a look there. Gotisches house. And it even has a picture kind of the room and stuff. So thought that was pretty neat. And then I kept a business card also from the hotel we stayed at. I kind of intended to do this before, but last video I talked a little bit about the Bode Museum. I kept my ticket stubs here for the Bode. Also my receipt for my Radlers that we had for lunch there at the museum. So anyway, we did have basically kind of a lunch through bedtime day at Rothenburg. Went to bed that night and then got up the next morning and had some more adventures before we again had to just pack up and go. So Rothenburg was a very short leg of the trip. It was definitely worthwhile. It was extra, as Cassandra would explain. She really felt like if we were going, we should definitely at least spend some time there, and she was right. So the next morning before we checked out, we had some more adventures, and I will share those with you on the next video. You guys stay safe until then.